yeah, I started hanging out with, at first, normal, I guess you could say, high school goers, but there came a point where I started dabbling with the wrong crowd, dabbling in drugs, weed, ecstasy, alcohol. My first time trying alcohol was in high school, and again, some gang activity. But yeah, that's the crowd that I was around in high school.
You know what's amazing to me is because I was involved in sports so early that you don't think that in middle school people are already dabbling in drugs. You guys helped me with that.
That's when they grab you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. I started smoking weed in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I loved it. The only thing I didn't love about it is I was a chubby kid. And I smoked that weed, man, and I'd be standing in front of the refrigerator eating as much food as I could possibly have, the munchies. Be the voice for the people that have lost their voice, and to offer hope, and it's spread to be so much bigger.
Yeah.
At the end, I want to play you my. Did you turn it down a little bit because it was a little quiet, but
They're really quiet.
but it seemed good. We're good. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we are.
Hey, Edgar.
Yeah,
Come on.
Welcome.
Come on.
Welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
I'm
Yeah,
pumped
man.
to be here. So,
Yeah.
and I followed you guys a bit too. So I actually knew that what you were telling me around. That's why I'm just like, yeah. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you guys stand for. And when Shane reached out to me, I was like, let's get it. I didn't
think
ask
that's
any
exactly
questions.
what you said. Let's get
I
it.
said, let's get it.
I didn't understand at first, but then I reviewed it. And my old brain took a minute, but then I understood he wanted it.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
He wanted it.
He wanted it.
That's why he said,
Let's get it.
Let's
yeah,
get it.
let's get it.
So, Edgar, tell us where you're from originally. Like, what city?
Originally, Oakland, California. Lived there till I was about 11, 12, and then we moved to Antioch.
How influenced were you by MC Hammer?
I don't think much.
on, that's Oaktown.
I mean, I get it, but I don't think
Oaktown.
at that time it was crazy because growing up I was more East Coast. I was like the only kid in the Bay. I was even looked down for it.
Yeah.
That didn't really like Bay Area. I was more East Coast. So later on in life, I started growing accustomed to where I was from and even doing the style.
So music, to you, when did you pick up on music? When did you first start hearing, let's say, rap?
I think I want to say poetry in the 3rd grade. I just got into playing with words, writing poems to my mom, writing poems to my family. I used to like to write stories. Like I used to make my own little books in school where I would like make up my own stories. And that's when I knew I liked to play with words. But it wasn't until high school that my friend had a studio. And, I started hearing my voice on a track, and I started telling myself maybe this is something that I could do.
Yeah.
So,
Chad, you've heard a lot of good music. What'd you think about his video we just heard?
It's really good, and I'm a hip hop connoisseur. Like,
Okay.
because see, I'm at that age group where life transitioned from heavy metal to hip hop, right, or almost gangster rap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old school gangster rap. When I want to, like, pump myself up, I need to put on some Tupac, some Biggie. It used to be Tupac only.
Yes.
But as I've gotten older, I realize how amazing Biggie is. But my most influential rapper in my life during my crazy days came from Oakland. His name was Too Short.
come on.
I like that you know that he's from Oakland.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Life is too short.
Yeah.
So
I have a few questions that I'm very interested in. First of all, I want to understand, where is the love coming from, or maybe it's even pain. I'm not sure which one it is yet. Grandmother, mother, who got you into the religion? Who got you rolling that way?
I had to be my mom. Yeah, it was definitely my mom. I mean, from as long as I can remember, there was always a pursuit of faith in her, and it was different religions at time. At our youngest, you'd have Jehovah's Witnesses come and read us that little yellow book, to go into Catholic church, and eventually we found ourselves in the faith, in the Christian faith, and she's still Christian to this day, and just always prayed for us before we went to sleep. We've been through a lot, so that's one thing that I've always seen her hang on to is the faith. She didn't do a lot of reading because her mom died when she was a kid, so she never got a chance to go to school. She's from Mexico, and but what she could read us was Psalms and Proverbs, and she read the same one every night, Psalms 91. I know it like the back of my hand, and she couldn't read us much of the Bible.
What is it?
But he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I'll say of the Lord, He is my fortress, my refuge, my God, and in Him I will trust. Surely, it's one of those powerful scriptures that, and she did it in Spanish. I don't know it in Spanish, but it was one of those powerful scriptures that she read to us literally every night. So, and that's all she really knew how to read. So,
and one reason we all knew Psalms 91 coming from the neighborhoods we did is it was a psalm of protection, and that we could find strength somewhere, right? So when you were coming up in high school, let's say like junior year, senior year, what kind of people were you spending time with? What were you up to? Were you in sports? Were you in trouble? Were you working a lot? What were you doing in high school?
High school, I definitely started hanging out with the wrong crowd. I started hanging out with the wrong crowd in middle school, and that's when I went to a middle school in Antioch. My mom tried to get us out of the hood in Oakland, and she brought us to Antioch. But it seemed like everybody from Oakland came with us to Antioch, so because a lot of people moved out that way too. And so the schools weren't that better, so I actually started involving myself with like gangs and stuff in middle school. Tried weed for the first time in middle school, and I was already, because I knew already, because around that time my mom would take us to church a lot too. So we would live in Oakland, but we would drive to Pittsburgh, which is 10 minutes from Antioch, just to go to church on Sundays. And, I had an encounter with God even at that young age, and I wanted to live for Him, serve Him. So in middle school, when I started acting out, I was real shamed. And so I told my mom, I said, I want to go to a different high school outside of this city because I want a fresh start. I want to be able to tell people I'm Christian, tell people about God.
Yeah.
And so that's when we moved to Oakley, which was 10 minutes down, 15 minutes down. And I went to Freedom High School. But it wasn't long after until I started getting involved with the wrong crowd again. And I started hanging out with, at first, normal, I guess you could say, high school goers, but there came a point where I started dabbling with the wrong crowd, dabbling in drugs, weed, ecstasy, alcohol. My first time trying alcohol was in high school, and again, some gang activity. But that's the crowd that I was around in high school.
What's amazing to me is because I was involved in sports so early that you don't think that in middle school people are already dabbling in drugs. You guys helped me with that.
That's when they grab you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. I started smoking weed in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I loved it. The only thing I didn't love about it is I was a chubby kid. And I smoked that weed, man, and I'd be standing in front of the refrigerator eating as much food as I could possibly have the munchies. So I got a little chubbier.
Oh yeah.
And then in 8th grade, I went to go buy some weed from my weed dealer, and I had one of those little red Elite 80 scooters, driving it illegally. Went down to my weed dealer, and I said, "Can I get a quarter of weed?" He's like, "I don't have any, but I have some speed." And I was like, what's speed?
What a jump right there.
Wow.
I didn't know what speed was.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't remember what he said, but anyways, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I remember going home, and I remember chalking up a line and snorting it. And I was like, this is this is what's been missing from my life. That is the day that my drug addiction started.
That is intense.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I went on a 12-year drug addiction from that day.
Wow.
What do you know about kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade doing drugs?
Well, I have kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, so we protect them vigorously.
Yeah.
It's daily getting them motivated every morning, asking them serious questions. Are you happy? What are you involved with?
Yeah.
Making sure their friends are good. So it's a struggle. There are rumors people are using, but keep them off the streets.
Yeah.
Keep them off the streets. Pick them up every day after school. Drop them off after school. You got to know where they are all the time. That's what we do. That's what they did to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they did to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Who's they? Your parents?
My parents. Yeah.
No, that's good
My
insight.
Mom, yeah, my mom.
And I think that's one thing you're doing. Tell us your expressions. Like you do poetry, you speak, you do music. What are your expressions of helping people?
I
Like,
got 4 kids.
he's got kids.
4 kids, yeah.
And then, so what is your expression of how you do it? And then who's your target audience?
I think I target everyone, you know, and I say that because even like at last night's concert, it was one of the most amazing things about it was that it was such a diverse crowd. Not only was it multicultural, but it was multi-generational. Like I had people on stage that I brought up to sing my song with me from 15 literally to plus 40.
Yeah.
And so I think that definitely I have a story that could relate to not just the lost son or the lost daughter, but also the praying mother, the praying grandma, the praying dad. You know, so I think when you talk about target, I just want to reach the world, you know.
Yeah.
As far as, and I'm not sure what you mean maybe by expression.
Expressions would be like Pharrell Williams is a great writer. He's a producer. He's an artist. He now works with Louis Vuitton. So he's expressing his art in many, many ways. When I look at you, I see you as expressing art in many, many ways. I don't see you just as a rapper.
Yeah.
So.
Got you. Yeah. And so, definitely music is one of them. Videos, I like to get into a little bit of, you know, some creativity, maybe some acting. I love to preach, you know, when I get the opportunity to go do a concert, unless they give me like an agenda, like, hey, we're not really doing an altar call, then I won't do an altar call. But that's one of my favorite expressions right there is when you just let the piano play and I get to open up with people and just be honest about, you know, the things that I've been through and I've overcome and how, you know, God could do it for them too. So, and it's crazy that Shane was talking about, and I wanted to backtrack a bit. You asked him who was telling you that. I think that's one of the things that I was missing in my life too is my dad. You know, my dad at a real young age, he left because I come from two immigrant parents, and so at a very young age, my dad left. He split to Mexico, and I'd never seen him again. He told me he was gonna go get me some chips, and never came back. So no, that's not what he said. But yeah,
I thought you were serious.
He's gonna give me some chips from the store real quick, and that was the last time I ever seen him. So So he actually took advantage of my sister, and he disappeared, and I never seen him again. Yeah. And so looking back now, I was glad that I didn't have a dad in my life in a sense because I kind of got to do whatever I want, you know. But now growing up, I'm like, man, I wish I had a dad. You know, I wish I had somebody to teach me how to handle my emotions, teach me what drugs were, teach me how to properly look at women, teach me how to take care of teach me how to do taxes. You know, like I look back and I wish I had somebody to tell me about what my friends told me about before my friends told me about it. You know?
Do you know how powerful that is? What he just said.
That's
So I wish I had a dad. So the idea, the biblical idea of a father is to guide, which is direction, to guard, which is protection, to govern, which is administration. And I know from you telling me about your father helped you in a lot of these ways, right?
Yes.
So when he says that he wishes he had a dad, what does that make you think?
Well, It made me think. I immediately thought he might not be the man that he is today.
Yeah.
Had he had a father, because it sounds to me like maybe that father might not have been a good one anyways. But like you went through, and I truly believe that, like, we go through these really hard times that make us amazing men, you know, and we learn this stuff when we learn this stuff. Because even though I had a father, mine, he was kind of famous, and he was gone a lot. So I struggled in my early days. But now that I'm older, it wasn't what my dad told me that I learned the most from. It's what my dad showed me. He showed me how to have work ethic. He showed me that no matter what, you take care of your mom, his wife, and no matter what, you're there for your kids. So my dad always showed up for everything, but he was gone most of the time.
That's powerful. Joseph, what are you thinking about over there on the couch?
Well, I think the void is evident, and I hear that in what you're saying is the void of a male, and in this case, your father figure. But I agree with what Chad is saying. I don't know if you're the man and now the husband and now the father that you are today. And the great thing about God's grace is we get to change that cycle in our family.
Yeah, you broke it.
Yeah.
You broke the cycle. And now your kids, right?
Yeah.
Your wife get to experience that goodness from a setback to comeback story. And that's what Tim talks about all the time.
Those are my favorite stories in the whole world, man.
Yeah.
From a setback to a comeback.
The get back is greater than the setback. Somebody told me.
Yeah.
And I felt on to that. It's true. And, you know, it's not to say that I didn't, because I had a stepdad. I had an awesome stepdad. I mean, he fell in love with my mom when she already had 4 kids of her own, had 2 with her, didn't treat us any different from them, spanked them before he ever touched us, which wasn't good for them either. But you know, but my dad, before he left and he did what he did, he didn't make it easy for him. So he got to a point where he kind of just had to take that step back and just say, okay, I'll be stepdad. And he to this day, I call him dad. I've always called him dad. But he definitely filled that void maybe in my mom's life, and partly in my life and my brothers and sisters' life, as far as provision goes and as far as example goes, hard worker. But he never was able to do what maybe probably only my dad could have done. You know, he was more like standoffish and work hard, taught us what it is to work, but never had those hard conversations with us, you know?
Yeah.
And, but my dad did make, and I can't blame him, because my dad, he didn't make it easy for him, you know, following us around. They fought at a gas station one time. It just came to the point where, and my dad would do like some psychological type warfare, would tell us to, you know, put fireworks under his bed, you know, at night when he's sleeping, light them, run out the room. I think it was one of my uncles that told my older brother, when my baby brother was born, which was his son, to hit him with a hammer. You know, it's crazy stuff, you know. The day came where, you know, my mom, she was still trying to be that good mom and let us see our dad, and me and my sister, or it might have just been my sister on her own, went over there, and some stuff happened, and he never stayed around to confront it, answer questions. He just.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know if your biological dad was an alcoholic?
He actually wasn't. From what I know, he wasn't. He smoked a lot of cigarettes. I know that. He smoked a lot of cigarettes, and I think he dabbled more in like sex addiction, picking up like prostitutes and cheating on my mom and stuff like that. But from what I remember, he wasn't big on substances, because I remember him always talking about my stepdad, because my stepdad was a heavy drinker. So, cigarettes maybe, and maybe he did do some drugs. But
talk to us about change. So with the Hopeaholics, we do a lot of education. So we believe that if someone's going to change, number one, they have to become awake. And that's becoming conscious. Sometimes it happens through a challenge. Maybe someone gets a DUI. Or maybe one of their friends dies. So you have to become awake. Secondly, you have to take inventory. You have to look at yourself. It's kind of like check yourself before you wreck yourself. You become awake, you take inventory. Thirdly, you partner with the right people. Okay? So how did you learn to partner with the right people? And what did that take to find those right people?
I think becoming awake was definitely a big part. At the age of 19, I was already like a full-blown drug addict. And my thing was cocaine. I've tried crystal. I liked heroin. I tried heroin and all these other things. But my thing was cocaine. Like, I literally would stay up 4 or 5 days off of it. Literally would. That's what I would have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe some Newports. And Corona, but I'd never, like that was it for me. And I reached the point where I was 19 years old. I went from like 240 pounds to like, I think 180. And it was crazy because I would get my doctor checkups, and my doctor always told me like, hey, you're really overweight. Like you need to get on, something needs to happen here. And so I would go to these checkups, and my doctor would tell me like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Just keep doing it. You're doing great. It's so
well, I'm not gonna tell him it's cocaine since he's telling me keep doing it.
Doctor's cool with it.
Doctor's cool with it.
But nah, I just came to the point where I was destroying myself. I was breaking my mom's heart because she's just such a loving mother. She would wake up every single day at 4 a.m. to make my stepdad breakfast and lunch for work, and right after she was done, she would come into my room and she would pray for me. And she wouldn't just pray for me. She would come, she'd lay hands on me, she'd pray for my clothes, she'd pray for my shoes, she'd pray whoever was in the room, whether it was friends, she'd pray for them. If it was a girl, she would pray for her too, It's my wife's here, but it's okay. These are BC days.
They were rarely ugly girls he used to date.
Yes. And I think that's really what got me. Like I said, dang, what am I doing? Like I'm destroying myself. My mom. Sometimes I would pretend like I was sleeping, and I would just hear her prayers, and so it came to the point where I was like, man, I'm done. I just want to see her happy. I want to see myself happy. I want to see my brothers happy, my sisters happy. I just want to be different. And so I became awake,
But see, I see the partnering with his mother as part of partnering with the right people. So like this is what we're about with this podcast and everything we do. We're a movement where we partner with people. And we help them in this life's journey. Okay. But your mother helped do that. That she played the role of the mother, but she also played the role of a friend. Which I think is super awesome.
And that's exactly what happened. One day I was super high. I think I was up for like 2 days. Started like scraping powder off my scale, just trying to find some way to get high. And I knew she was coming. It was like 3-something in the morning, and I knew she was coming. I said, man, this is it. And I started, I almost felt like I heard a voice like, just tell her, tell her you're addicted. Tell her you need help. Tell her you want to change. Because I did. Everything in me did want to change, but I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to express that, And so when she came down, and I was getting ready to either pretend like I was sleeping or just tell her, she came down because I stayed in the garage. She opened the garage door, and when she opened it, I just, I started crying, and I told her, Mom, I'm doing all this. I'm doing drugs. I'm doing alcohol, sleeping with all these girls, all this and that. And the first thing she told me was, I know, and it's true. She knew, she knew I tried to hide these things, but she knew. Mamas know even when they don't even need proof, they know. And she said, well, these were her words. She said, well, go and smoke you a cigarette. And I said, okay. I never heard her tell me that. But then she was like, because we're going to send you to the men's home. And that's when we partnered with Victory Outreach. And she sent me to the men's home right there in Lodi. And, man, my life changed forever.
So shout out to Victory Outreach. You saw one of the main pastors on World Shakers at Sonny Arganzoni Jr. They have over 500 churches around the world.
Yeah.
And you heard him talking because they do these facilities, these men's homes and women's homes. And that's where he went. And you stayed there for how long?
I stayed in that program for 5 months, and then they sent me to the UTC.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you've heard of the UTC.
Yeah, it's a training center.
Yeah, it's a training center, and it's like, like leadership / ministry / Bible school / just make you right with Jesus school. And I was there in Chicago for an entire year. And that's when I came back, and I transitioned into the church, the Victory Outreach there in Stockton, because I was in Lodi, which was a fairly smaller church. Transitioned into Stockton, and there my life hasn't been the same since then.
So I want to say this to all of you guys, because I need help on this. That when you know truth, and so he was going to church, and so he was hearing truth, but yet he was still struggling with addiction. What does that conflict feel like? Let's start with you, Chad.
Well, yeah, because I have a similar story in the fact that, I grew up in church. I was raised in church. I was raised in Christian private school. I started using drugs in really using hardcore drugs in 8th grade, which I think, for me, and I think crystal meth, cocaine, and heroin are the devil's drug. They're nasty. They're evil. But man, it can grab you because it lies. They lie to you so much, and it grabs you. And, and I was really lost for the next 12 years of my life. I was, as you were talking, and talking about your mom coming in and praying for you, it reminded me of this day where I was at my buddy's house, and we had all been up for, this was probably third day in a row that we had been up. We had beers all over the house. We were smoking meth, and his mom came in, and she was a very, very Christian lady. And she came in and she started telling us that we were all going to hell and that we needed to repent and that the world was coming to an end soon. And then I have to tell you guys, later that day, I dropped a hit of acid. And it was the worst trip of my entire life because I was so conflicted with God that I had thought that the world had ended and God had left me here.
That's intense. What did it feel like for you to know truth and maybe be battling?
You know what? I need to just say a few things. I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
The love that his mother has for him is palpable. It's incredible. Without her, he doesn't survive. I mean, that's just how it goes. Conflict with God and knowing the right thing. Never really felt it. I'm not going to lie. I never really felt that conflict with God and doing the wrong thing. I had more problems when I got married about smoking cigarettes and wanting to quit for my family.
Yeah.
So I had similar things with other drugs, but not in that area. Not in that area.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Joseph, conflict, what's that like? The reason I ask, because I think a lot of people watching right now, they're conflicted constantly. Even with
everything,
even with staying in shape,
100%.
And you go to 7-Eleven, you see Hostess Twinkies.
Yes.
I think conflict is so different. And I was telling Edgar when he came in, the way I discovered him was obviously through social media, but I have a 14-year-old, right? And my 14-year-old loves Christian rap artists. But kids today are conflicted in different ways. And I think you guys were talking about that in the beginning, right? How do you protect your kids from the drugs, the alcohol at such a young age? And when I played Edgar's music for my son, he fell in love with it. And I was just like, man, that's the answer to conflict for our next generation. But I agree with you that you appeal to everybody. Yeah. Your story appeals to everybody. It took me till I was 31 years old to get sober. You don't have to wait till you're 31, right? So just as early as kids get exposed, they can become sober just as early. They don't have to wait till 30, 40, 50. Because Chad, as you know, the older we get, Chad, the harder it becomes to get sober.
And let's just make sure this exposure starts at home. You know what I mean? A lot of it has to start at home or reinforced at home.
Yeah.
It always needs reinforcement. And I'll tell you what I think is amazing, guys. I think it's amazing he's giving the youth, not only the youth, but the world an outlet. Because that's what we're missing today. Even adults, they're looking for leadership. They're looking They're looking for an outlet. They're looking for something to put their energy into. And people are too shy today to express themselves in godly ways. We're taking it out of the church. We're taking it out of schools. We're taking it out of auditoriums. We're taking it out of different municipalities. You're bringing the love back, man.
I just want to clarify that Shane is saying the word out and not oat.
Yeah. Is that Canada?
That's Canada. That's Canada.
Canada A?
I thought he said oath. So I'm like, okay, well, I was trying to tie it in. But
Oath.
I'm
saying oath. Okay. Sorry, bro. Yeah, that's my Canadian.
I'm sorry.
it was. He said out. He said outlet.
Okay.
Outlet. But it was so funny because we were on a Zoom Recover Out Loud meeting live, right? And he said oat, and the girl goes, "What do you mean oat?"
When I get excited and I talk a little fast, the Canadian
really
comes out big time.
As a Canadian rapper, he'd confuse some
Were you a
people, I
Canadian
think.
rapper?
Yeah, no, just Canadian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I wish I could rap. Are you kidding me?
I speak Canadian because my dad is also a Canadian immigrant.
Yeah.
And
Let's talk about you and the platform that life has given you.
Right.
So you got this platform now. People are listening to your music. What does it feel like? What do you think is happening for you now? And where do you think is supposed to happen for you next?
I think a platform is definitely a scary thing, you know. Cause I see, like I was telling you guys earlier, I went to get my Instagram verified the other day, and they sent me a message back. It said, sorry, you can't verify. You haven't even had the account 180 days.
Yeah.
I got that same one on the Hopeaholics.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like this thing's like growing. Like I literally I have over 20,000 followers right now. I have reels that are like going super viral.
That's big.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what the heck, you know? So I see that I definitely have a platform, but I want to make sure I do what's right with it, you know. And I love what you said right now. Joseph, right?
Yeah.
Joseph, I will never forget again. I love what you said, Joseph, that, you know, I'm 31, but you don't have to wait until that. And that's one of my things that I want to do with my platform. And that's actually what I say in that song, even though it's like a up song and, you know, make you move a little bit, but there's a message. I say, don't get it twisted. Ain't no wrong way home, but why you want to take the long way home?
Yeah.
You know? And so, and I actually caught a lot of flack for it by a lot of even Christians on social media that said, what are you saying? There's multiple ways to heaven. I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is there is two different ways to come to God. You could either come to him like the Bible says, remember your creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come and the years draw near, where you say, I have no pleasure in them, or you could go through some things and you could experience for yourself one way or another. You will come to that awakening. You will have to take inventory one day, and you will be pushed by God to partner with the right people, because God at the end of the day is a loving father. And just like if my kids step out of line, they're going to know they're out of line, and I'm going to let them go through some things in life, and I'm going to let them go through some addiction. I'm going to let them go through some heartbreak, through some broken I'm going to let them come to a point in their life where they're like, oof, I need to do something. And so that's exactly what I want to do with my platform is, number one, preach God, but then also preach my story in hopes that people, come to a realization like, dang, I don't want to end up like this guy, you know, even though he's good now, but I've been through some things.
I love the way you just put that out there, because that's kind of like, what I want my platform to be is like, you don't have to go through what I went through to find God, to find hope, to become successful, to find that new mindset, to change your life.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't have to go through the spiritual warfare that I put myself through, because of poor decisions that I made.
Yeah.
You don't have to it doesn't have to be that road. You can have everything that I have right now.
Yeah.
Just stop doing what you're doing and talk to God.
Yeah. I like that. So there's a saying, like having to do with like a sailboat, that we don't have to learn from the rocks. We can be led by the rudder. And I think that so many people, they just learn from the rocks. They just keep knocking their boat into the rocks. But we all know we can learn from the rudder.
Yeah.
And being led by the things of God, but also having the right friends.
Yeah.
One of the things you'll see with the Hopeaholics, we're all friends with each other.
You know, it's funny you said that. You're leading me into my next thought here. So you've gone away for a year and 5 months. You come back, you start getting really into music. You get that break, you're at a concert or a get-together, your mom is there. Your loved one is there. What's that emotional feeling she has? I mean, you know?
Yeah. So let me follow here.
Okay.
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
I'm just bringing up a statement. Go with it wherever you want, bro.
So you're asking, how do I feel now knowing that my mom knows I'm doing good?
Well, no, just how's that emotional feeling like when she starts to cry?
When you got back.
When you got back and you're better and you're with God and you're singing,
okay.
And you're up there on the stage. And
got you. There's nothing like it. You actually brought me back to something I wanted to say earlier. But I'll answer this first. There's nothing like it. Honestly, the only reason why I went into the men's home and the only reason why I wanted to change in the first place was just to put a smile on her face. It wasn't even for me. Like for me, I my fate was sealed. Like I'm cool with this, you know. But because this makes you feel better, and she always drilled that scripture into me: honor your father and your mother, do this, and I'll extend the days of your life. Like, man, maybe in me obeying you, God will probably do something in my life. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I came into the men's home first week, and I'm just here because they told me to. You know, I'm just here because it makes my mom happy. And sure enough, you know, I encountered God for myself, and I said, I love this, and there's nothing else that I ever want to do, you know. So there's definitely nothing like that to know that, you know, that your mom's happy, you know. And I love what you said earlier. How does that conflict? You acting out, but you know God's truth. And all I could think about is, God's truth, but I also knew God's love. That's a conflicting thing too, right there.
Yeah.
Like to know you're doing this bad, but to know you're loved this much. And that's what my mom showed me. Like, I would come home after 4 or 5 days, no sleep. I mean, I just probably did something really bad, either rob somebody or whatever, some super bad. You fill in the blank. I would come home, tore up from the floor up. I'd walk in the door and my mom would be like, how's my little pastor doing? Come here. Or how's my little evangelist? Come here. You know, and I'd be like, you don't even know what the heck I just did. But she, even though I was a drug addict, I was a thief, I was a fornicator, she never saw me as that. That's where I conflicted. Like, dang, I'm out here doing all this, but I'm still loved this much, you know? And that's even what the Bible says. It's God's love and kindness that brings us to repentance.
A lot of people have different thoughts about this. When you think of sobriety, do you see it as hard work, or do you see it as I stay connected to people and a plan that I can flow?
Yeah.
So how do you see it? Because I work with a lot of people who struggle. They see it different ways. How do you see it?
I think for me, it is hard work. I think for me, it is sacrifice. I think for me, I have to be intentional on who I surround myself with. I have to be. The moment I start getting loose, the moment I let go of some spiritual disciplines, the moment I start hanging out with even family sometimes. Like, there's family functions where we go to, right, babe? And as soon as the sun starts going away, I'm like, all right, y'all, let's go, you know, because I know what's about to happen right now, and I'm cool. And people don't understand that sometimes. But I understand it, and I know that I have to be intentional.
What do you guys think about that? This idea of it being a difficult journey, or some kind of a flow you find?
Oh, I think that people can make it difficult, but you could find a flow if you really truly want it. I mean, what is your willingness? You know, like you can make it fun or you can make it miserable.
Yeah.
Like I love being sober.
Yeah.
I love my life.
Come on.
I love the guy that I've become. I love waking up in the morning and stacking wins. So for me, it seems easy, but I'm gonna tell you why it's easy. because it doesn't matter what time I get up. You know, you guys know my normal schedule. I'm up at 3 a.m., but like not always. But when I get up, I spend an hour with God. I spend an hour in prayer and meditation.
Come on.
And I talk to God, and I fill my mind with with only goodness. That's how I start my day every day. And that was a non-negotiable because I relapsed as a successful guy who owns drug and alcohol treatment centers.
Shane, how do you see it?
I think that this wonderful man here has a vision of falsities at times in terms of his father being a certain way. Not only that, but in terms of when he said he's missing something. I'm in bed before dark all the time. Nothing good, bro, happens at dark. It never has. That's not something we're missing. That's God working in your life. That's you getting up that next morning.
Yeah.
You know, you're right where you're supposed to be, man, doing perfect, beautiful things. 4 kids, a gorgeous wife. Are you kidding me? And she joins you on the road like this?
Yeah.
It's important.
And she's nice.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
He's reaching people today.
Come on.
Yeah.
Joseph, how do you see getting into that flow state? Is it hard work for you, or what's it like?
I think in the beginning it is hard work, but for me, I know that God relieved the obsession of alcohol, and that puts me in a state of flow every single day. And Shane, you just said this right now, is every day I wake up and I think of, I don't have to worry about who I offended last night. I have my wallet. I have my cell phone. I have an amazing wife. I have amazing kids. So when you weigh those things out, it really puts it in perspective, right? And I'm going to say a quote that Chad's going to love. It's the alignment to the assignment. Every day I know that I'm aligned to that assignment. But I have a question for you, though, as we're talking about this, Tim, is so now you find yourself in this flow, right? You're in this flow. You got this platform. Talk about how you operate and maneuver, because people, places, and things don't change, Edgar. The dealers are still there. The hood's still there. Up north still there. How do you operate with that today? And the challenges, right? Because you just said when the sun goes down, I know I'm the same way as you. Tim knows this. If I'm at a family party, you know, I'm Hispanic. My wife's parents are Hispanic. I know what happens when 6, 7 o'clock hits. But I'm exiting stage left. It's like, hey, man, it's time to go. Like, we got to go. We have no reason being here, right? Like, let's get the kids, let's go and get home safe. But what's it like for you today? Because those things don't change. It's the renewing of your mind.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely, I'm intentional. You know, I'm intentional. And I love what you said. Like, I'm still in Antioch right now. I'm still in my Egypt. Right. So like and Antioch is such a small city. I think there's only like about 140,000 people there. So trust and believe, I always run into people. I run into people that, you know, I was really cool with and got high with. And, you know, I run into people I maybe did wrong, you know, or run into people that I maybe stole from, you know, or run into girls that maybe I was with back then. And so sometimes I just have to be intentional. I know there's just certain places that store is cool, but I know who's going to be there, who's going to be chilling outside. So I'm going to just go to this one today. Or, you know, I do want to go to church out here in Antioch. That'd be cool or something. But you know what? I'm going to go over here at Stockton, you know, which was my original home church anyways. You know, I'm just intentional, you know, with how I move, you know. And on top of that, and I did, since you brought that up, sometimes I could deal with like a lot of the past comes up, you know, and I could deal with even like some shame of things that I've done. And so, you know, I just have to be intentional and say, you know, the past is the past, and that's not me anymore. And I'm moving forward in Jesus' name. And, you know, I keep a lot of people around my life. There's a scripture in the Bible, and I hope y'all don't mind me, you know, quoting the Bible.
We love it.
Because if it comes, it just comes. You know, there's safety in a multitude of counselors. So I make sure my wife knows this. I'm open. I'm transparent. I love my pastors. God's blessed me with some amazing ones where I could just come to and say, hey, I'm going through this. Me and my wife are going through this. I just ran into this person, and this is how I'm feeling. And so I'm teachable. I'm open. malleable sometimes. And I mean, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Kinda.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, so for parents that want to see their children not be in a bad place, what would you say to a mother or father? They know their child's up to something, okay? Maybe the child's 14, 15, 16. You know they're up to something. Should they let them know that? Should they police them? No. Should they put all kinds of things on their phone so they know where they are? Yeah. Should they put things underneath their car? What should they do?
I think number one, tell them about God. Number one, because that's one thing that, you know, even when I was messing up, I just always had the Lord in mind, you know. So number one, instill godly principles within them, share with them the word, bring them to church even if they don't want to come, surround them with godly people, take them out of ungodly environments sometimes. And by ungodly, I'm not talking about people that don't go to church. You know when something's ungodly, you know, it's like your kids don't have to be there. So I think that's number one. And number two, because of I'm trying to kind of answer this from how I grew up and how my kids are growing up right now. I heard about this thing last week and it just made so much sense. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. The law of first mention. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
Normally, who they hear it from is the view that they'll grab onto the most.
Wow.
And so that's one thing that now I try to do with my kids. And it's hard, especially because, so we're a blended family. She had a son, I had a daughter, and now we have two babies together. Yeah. So with the two oldest ones, which is her son, now my son, and my daughter, now her daughter, I tried to implement that. You know, they're hard conversations sometimes because my son is 11 and my daughter's 9, and people say, oh, they're just kids, they don't know, they're not up to nothing. But I know what I was up to at 9. You know, I know at 9 our parents would go and party and leave us in a room or something, and we're in there doing some ungodly things with cousins sometimes, you know. And I knew what the heck I was up to at 9. And so now, like, I don't take that chance. So I do, even though they're uncomfortable conversations to have, you better talk to them about it before their friends do. You better talk to them about it before their school does, because somebody's going to talk to them about it. But I think that the quicker we do have those conversations, the better. So I would say, yeah, confront and, you know, let them know you love them, and, you know, and don't let them know you know what they're up to, but maybe, you know, I don't know, hint at it and say that's not the way, you know. But yeah, I don't know. You look like you wanted to say something, Chad.
No, I actually liked that. I liked what you said. I've always been extremely honest with my kids. Yeah. You know, I let them know stuff, and I love that, because I think I agree with it 100%. If the school teaches you before before the parent does, especially your peers tell you before your parents do, you're going to get whatever information, and it most likely is going to be misinformation, right? Yeah. So I think that being honest with your kids and upfront, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I have zero fear of telling my kids what happens in the real world. Yeah. Period. Yeah. Especially in today's world of fentanyl, because these kids can get a pill that they think is ecstasy. They could get some weed that came off the street, and it all could be laced with fentanyl, and that could be the last day that you see them. Yeah, 100%. So in every area, I'm honest. I can tell you what Shane's answer with is, do whatever you're comfortable with as a parent. Yeah. Because you're the one that has to sleep at night if something happens to your
worst
child.
Case scenario.
Yeah. So if you go to worst case scenario, did I do everything
in your power
that I thought was right
with God
to make sure that my kid was armored with the right information?
And there's no evangelist, there's no preacher, there's no therapist, there's no psychiatrist, psychologist that can tell you what to do.
Because I can tell you in every area, there's parents who don't watch their kids at all, whose kids end up turning out amazing. There's helicopter parents who watch every move of their child, who have died from fentanyl, who are out having sex with boys in 9th and 10th grade. So is there a real, true, right answer for this? Except for Shane's answer. Do what you're comfortable with in your heart. You know, and I think it's important, though, because if you're a helicopter parent, your kids may not come to you and be like, this is what's happening in my life.
Most likely not.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a lack of trust.
So with my kids, I feel like my kids, you know, they'd be a little bit scared to come tell me some things, but, you know, like I know that my oldest daughter knows that I know everything about her. And we have a really, really good relationship. She comes to her dad when she needs
it's important
real advice, guidance.
Edgar, so we're the Hopeaholics. What does the word hope mean to you? Hope. What does hope mean to you?
That it exists, you know. There's definitely hope. It's crazy because I actually checked out that podcast, Chad, where you talk about how you relapsed, you know, and same thing here, you know. 19 is when I first came into the Victory Outreach Men's Home. God changed my life. I fell in love with Jesus. Did the program there. They sent me to the UTC in Chicago. I traveled abroad from Minnesota to New York to Philadelphia to Connecticut to Texas, everywhere. You know, doing even music and preaching the word. I loved what I did, you know, and, you know, some years into it, you know, I started taking the music thing serious and, definitely started had a platform back then and, you know, music was going worldwide and I had a lot of love, a lot of support from everywhere. And 2019 I backslid, you know, and I found myself back out there, you know, and when I say back, you know, I mean back. I thought I was an addict before. I was a real addict this time, you know, and so because I was kind of like I love your story. Like you were you ran a recovery home already, right? Or and you know, same thing here. Like I was preaching against this kind of stuff, you know, like I made songs back then that blew up, like Not Your Average. I don't know if you guys ever heard about it, but I said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't cuss. My Bible, that thing that I told I don't tuck. I mean what I say, I don't joke, I don't bluff. If that ain't my wifey, I don't touch. So I would preach this message, you know, I was like up here. And so when I was out there, it made it even harder. I said, there's no way. I'll never be able to do that again. I'll never be able to come back to church again. I had no hope. I had no hope. But I'm here today. And it's just crazy because I found myself in such a hopeless situation. And even when you don't believe in hope, hope believes in you. You know? And so.
Isn't that awesome that he watched your podcast and really got touched and by what you said? It's awesome.
It's a hard comeback.
I do love that.
That's a hard comeback. Like that's a really hard comeback to know that you were up here and you fell all the way down here. And it's like, you know, how do you know?
And in my world, I fell. Everybody knew
same here.
This industry is not that big. It's big, but it's not that big. And when you're at the very, very top, everybody likes to see you fall. And then you know, people like to talk, right? They like to, you know, you'll hear the whispers on the side, like, oh, he shouldn't be back doing this stuff already. He should. So you know what? You know what I did? I did what I heard in a couple of motivational a couple motivational speakers. I heard that you know, it's time to go back into the dark room. So I went in my dark room. I shut off all my social media. I put my head down for Shane, all the way up until like 6 months ago. And then God told me it was
turn it back on, baby.
Turn it back on, and I'm good to go.
Come on.
Is he still in his camera view? Tim likes to be over on the side like Shane. But I just put my head down, man, and then and God told me you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's we're blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of that song. I wish I want my theme song to be is it Biggie Smalls says, "I'm blowing up like you thought I would."
I don't know it.
I don't know. Is that it? Joseph knows.
Like you thought I would. Something about Crips and Bloods.
Call the crib, same number, same hood.
Exactly.
It's all good.
All good.
All good.
I love the way Edgar just started spitting that verse that quick. Let's play with something on the Hopeaholics.
Let's do it.
Can you come off the top of the dome as
I could try, but
okay, just have some fun.
I could try, but
okay. So the Hopeaholics, right? You know, we're a podcast, but we're all about hope.
Saving people's lives.
Love,
integrity. Go with whatever you want. It doesn't have to rhyme with the Hopeaholics. Anything godly, loving, something hip-hop. You know what I mean? We might even use it as an intro. We don't know. We need an intro. We're looking for one, actually.
I got you.
How's that sound?
Okay, here we go.
I'm going to just, may not be off the top of the dome, but I'm going to
No, but yeah, even use some of your old stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're looking for something that we're allowed to play that's not copyrighted.
So here we go.
Let's
Here we
get
go.
it.
We want
Let's
permission.
get it.
Here
Joseph,
we go.
you gotta move around and film this.
Yeah. Hang on.
You're good.
Yeah.
Hopeaholics coming to you live.
Look, don't you ever say that hip hop's dead to a hip hop head. It's asleep, but I'm flipping over hip hop's bed. This is surgical procedure, and I'm hip hop's med. I had to talk with hip hop, and this what hip hop said. I haven't had a decent rapper spit it since Pac fled. I'm hoping for a revolution, Christian hip hop bred. But these Christian rappers talking about the same dang thing, slightly implementing Jesus, saying it's God led. If you ever lose your passion, it's because it's not fed. If that Bible isn't working, it's because it's not read. If your prayer isn't answered, it's because it's not said. Praise God. Don't you ever give the hip hop cred, because music was created for the audience of one, but we done messed it up, turned it to partying and fun. Don't get me wrong, it's cool to make it for people, but if you make it for the king, you'll be inspiring a ton.
Yeah, baby.
The Hopeaholics. The Hopeaholics.
We're on the Hopeaholics today.
There we go. That was it.
I got you. Look. One more for you.
Yeah, do it.
I am not the same guy I used to be, been different. My mama said you are who you hang with. My friend's different. Beanie told me it's not too late. Pray and let Jesus operate. And even if you started off bad, it could end different. Listen, ever since I took his advice, now I think different. Survived the biggest hits of this life because my chin different. And even if my chin fail, end up taking a big L. Every single L is a lesson. I win different.
The Hopeaholics.
The Hopeaholics. All right, we got we got a hard stop, but we got 1 minute, and I want you to, your camera is right there.
Yes.
Tell our audience, give our audience a little bit of a inspiration. Yeah. Anything from the heart.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's not over, and I love what this podcast stands for. There is hope. And even like, the reason why I even go with the name E.G.R. is it stands for extra grace required, and I'm sure you guys have heard that term before. It's normally someone that shouldn't be in the room, but they're still in the room. After everything that they've done, they're still here, you know?
Awesome.
And so that's what my name stands for. I've been through a lot. I've went some lengths for some time, and I honestly shouldn't be here today, but I'm here today. And I know it's so cliche when we say if God did it for me, he could do it for you. But I truly believe that if God did it for me, someone who thought it was over, thought it was curtains, thought it was a wrap, thought I would never see light again, I'm here, then God could definitely do it for you. So keep believing in him, keep praying to him, keep hoping in him, and he'll never let you down. And even when you are, he'll carry you, amen. So,
Amen.
Extra grace required.
Extra grace required.
Okay, so let's follow him. Best place to follow you would be?
Just type in E.G.R. X official and you'll come across
E.G.R. X official.
X
Yes.
official.
This is the Hopeaholics podcast. Make sure and tell people about it. This is a movement.
Yeah.
You're changing people's lives on purpose.
Yeah.
Changing lives.
Nice. Hell yeah, bro. It was awesome.